Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And the Phils split with the Giants behind a dominant performance from Cristopher Sanchez. We'll talk about the lefty start to the season on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for a little over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that if you're checking us out in podcast form, remember, we're available wherever you get your podcasts, you're rating and reviewing. I would really appreciate that, and I would appreciate you subscribing to the YouTube. You would appreciate that as well, because that'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. It's free and easy. Just go to the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out, and you'll never miss a thing with the Fighting Phils. So today's episode is going to start with a recap of Game 4 of the series with the Giants, and wild up and down series where the Phils ended up splitting. And we're going to talk about Cristopher Sanchez and his unbelievable changeup and his great performance yesterday, career high in strikeouts for him. We're also going to go with some perspective on the season in the second segment, something that I looked up today. Where are the Phils at right now compared to where they were through their first 19 games last year? You're going to be shocked by the results. And we're also going to preview the Phils series with the Marlins starting tonight. They have 2 more series, both NL East contests before they get their next off day. 3 of the Marlins, 3 of the Mets. We'll take a look at what the Fish have been doing to start the year. Surprisingly good start for Miami to the season, but is it real? We'll look into all of that. So let's first talk about Cristopher Sanchez, because my God, he was throwing an otherworldly changeup yesterday against the San Francisco Giants. Now, I've been saying all series, the Giants are a strikeout-prone team. Their numbers would seem to indicate that. They'll barrel baseballs, but they'll also have a lot of swing and miss. And you hadn't really seen that to this point in the series, and Cristopher Sanchez showed you it yesterday. He had 12 strikeouts. I mean, the first 8 all on the changeup. He's just a monster when he's on. And yesterday, he was on. He had 2 earned runs over 7 innings worth of work, which you'll take that every time. But the swing and miss stuff was unbelievable from Cristopher Sanchez. And he's been really solid to start the year. I mean, people talked about him in the offseason and in spring training as a dark horse Cy Young candidate. Well, right now, he has the 6th best odds if you were to bet on him to be the National League Cy Young winner for the 2025 season. That's pretty darn good for a guy that coming into last year was a question mark of, is he a major league pitcher? Yeah, he's not just a major league pitcher. He's a darn good one. He set the bar for this Phillies team in that game, or kind of set the bar. He was good in this game, really good. But the bar set was really done in the bottom of the first inning by the Philadelphia Phillies offense. They scored 5 in the first inning off of Jordan Hicks. They were able to figure out a lot of stuff with takes and being selective, but they're also barreling baseballs when they needed to. And that was awesome to see from the Phillies to get out to a hot start. Now, we've seen that in this series. But what happened was, after they got off to a hot start, the starting pitching would let them down. We saw it from Taijuan Walker. We saw it from Aaron Nola. Well, the Phillies in the bottom of the first, you had Kyle Schwarber with an RBI single, Nick Castellanos with an RBI single. There was a wild pitch that scored Kyle Schwarber. Alec Boehm tripled the center, which probably could have been an error on Matos, their center fielder, but you'll take the triple. The kid needs it right now to get everything rolling. He hasn't had the hottest start to the season. You know, we've been talking about that. That's great to see from him. And then Cristopher Sanchez basically just locked it down most of the rest of the way. For anyone who comes out of this game and goes, well, the Phillies scored 5 in the first and then didn't score again until Edmundo Sosa had an RBI sac fly in the 8th. What happened to the offense in between there? Yeah, it's fair criticism, but at this point in the season, beggars can't be choosers. Now, the Phillies aren't true beggars, and we shouldn't be as fans, but when you win a ball game and you split a series, you would have taken that on, when did this series start? Monday. You would have taken that on Sunday if I had told you, hey, they're going to take 2 of 4 against the Giants. Okay, no harm, no foul. Clean your hands, move on to Miami, right? Now, how they did it was kind of weird, with 2 double-digit amounts of runs surrendered in different games, and then they didn't really score all that much in the 2 games they won, but the offense was kind of rolling early. The problem was, in other games, like I said earlier, they would have a hot start. The starting pitching would let them down early. You kind of sag when that happens, or maybe you're pressing a little bit at the plate to try and make up a deficit, and the next thing you know, you're swinging at stuff you shouldn't be. You're behind the 8 ball. You're not putting together good at bats. So you end up losing games, and the bullpen wasn't much better. Well, the bullpen was fine yesterday, and Sanchez was outstanding yesterday, and you will absolutely take those performances. That's a good, solid win for the Philadelphia Phillies against a good team in the San Francisco Giants. I loved what I saw from the offense to start. I like that they're starting to jump on starting pitching. The Phillies thing right now, and a lot of teams in baseball's thing right now, is that they've just got to put it all together, right? Started the season against Washington, against Colorado, against the Dodgers. You were seeing a team that did not hit starting pitching, but when you went to the bullpen, they were going to crush you. 7th inning on, their numbers were best in baseball. And then kind of since that Dodgers series, you haven't really hit bullpens all that much. You did a little bit in the 1 win over the Braves, but Cardinals series, you couldn't hit starters or relievers. And this series against the Giants, you got to the starters, but you didn't get to the relievers. So is this a trend? No, this is just them trying to put stuff together and put together full performances. The same way when they've hit, they haven't pitched to their highest level consistently enough. And that's just the ebbs and flows of the early part of the season as guys start to work into where they're supposed to be talent level. There are still questions about this team, right? Like center field has not gotten any better. Aaron Nola, we talked about him being a mess to start the season on yesterday's episode. You can go back and check that out if you'd like. Taijuan Walker struggled in his last start out. The bullpen has had issues in a lot of spots, but ultimately, the Giants are a solid baseball team. That's a team that's going to win a good amount of games in a tough division in the NL West. Splitting with them, you will take that with the way you came into this series. But the Sanchez thing is something that was more than just this series. It was not just the start to the year for him. No, he is like a bona fide great major league pitcher. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. The guy's young enough. He's not young. I think he's 28. But he's throwing like 97 yesterday with a wipeout changeup that guys can't seem to pick up. His 1-2 punch of fastball changeup is one of the best 1-2 punches in all of baseball. Would I tell you to bet your money on him to be the National League Cy Young winner? No. Do I expect him to be getting votes? Absolutely. Is he the best pitcher on this team? No. And that's even better because Zach Wheeler is still the best pitcher on this team. But Sanchez is clearly the second best right now. And Luzardo is clearly the third best. And Luzardo's been really darn good this year. Like the Phillies have 3 high-level strikeout guys. And Sanchez has also been really good at pitching to soft contact when he needs to. He's done everything well this year. And that's why the Phillies are happy to have him locked down for the long term. That's the story of the game, right? You can look at some of the offensive performances and say, hey, it was nice for Alec Boehm to get that triple and an RBI early on in the game. It's nice to see Kyle Schwarber go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. It's nice to see Castellanos add another hit. It's nice to see Harper have 2 runs scored on 2 walks, even though he did not have a hit in the game. Like, you're getting better offensive production than you were on the road in St. Louis or on the road in Atlanta. But the biggest thing the Phillies just need to do, they're showing flashes in all aspects, right? They'll have a great start here, a great offensive performance by an individual guy here, a great bullpen outing by one guy here. They just need to put it all together and become the complete baseball team that I think that they can be. But weathering the storm of the slumping team and then getting to an easier series like I think you're going to have against the Miami Marlins, they're the keys to these early season struggles, and that's what the Philadelphia Phillies did. So a very nice bounce back, good resiliency by the Phillies. The Phillies lost game 1 and game 3 of this series against the San Francisco Giants, and guess what? They lost them by giving up double-digit runs in both of them, and then they bounced back and won the next day with both of them. You know how tough it is mentally to go out and get smoked and then wipe that and play the next day in the middle of a stretch where you're playing 16 games in 16 days, and the Giants are playing 17 games in 17 days. So not an unfair playing field, but just you're in the slog of the early season, and you get smoked, and you come out and win. And then you get smoked again, and then you come out and win. Obviously, it's not ideal. I want the Phillies to win every game they play. And I want them to be more consistent with playing winning baseball. Better base running, better fielding. We saw a couple errors by Trey Turner yesterday. We're going to just wipe those. He's been really good to start the year. If it becomes an issue, we will talk about it. But one day is not an issue. One day is just a bad day. But all of the stuff that you're working through right now and just fighting through to continue to win baseball games enough to keep your record where it is at 11-8 is a darn good thing for the Philadelphia Phillies. So a good win, good bounce back. Feel like they kind of steadied the ship a little bit. We will see what they do over the weekend against the Marlins at the bank. A good opportunity to win your first series since the third series of the year when you took down the Dodgers at Citizens Bank Park, and the Phillies seem like a better team at home, which we've known about this team. And basically all teams are, unless you're playing in like a minor league stadium that you don't know, like the Rays or Athletics. We'll see if they can get a little more momentum rolling rather than one step forward, one step back. So we'll talk about that later on. But speaking of 11-8, keep that record that the Phillies currently have in your mind, because that's going to play a big part in our next segment when we talk about some perspective on where the Philadelphia Phillies are at so far this season. We'll talk about that as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Upwork first, though, because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting you and whoever needs it with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. So whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. So let's just say you need help with like a marketing campaign. Well, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who can deliver incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple candidates that are qualified, you'll have them to choose from. Plus, it helps you with cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork can help you find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Check out our friends over at Upwork. Let's talk about this because this was shocking to me. And you know that I'm someone who leans significantly more positive on the Philadelphia Phillies than the average fan does, right? I still have faith in this baseball team to be what I think they are, and that's a great team. Does that mean World Series? We'll find that out later. Does that mean NLCS? Again, we'll find that out later. What we know is this team has played 19 games. And earlier today on the radio, I was having a conversation with the guys on air because they were bringing up how since the London series ended last year, the Phillies have played to a record of 4 games above 500. They're a smidge better than a 500 team. And we asked the question, does this team feel more like the start of last year's season team, where they were on this historic win pace and all of this, or the end of last year's team, where they couldn't put together a stretch of winning baseball, where they couldn't get above 500. They had all of these issues. And all three of us, myself, John Kincaid, Andrew Salchunas, the 3 guys on the morning show over at 97.5 The Fanatic, we all lean towards right now they feel more like the end of last year's team. But then I looked at the numbers. I took a peek at the actual history from last year's team because we were going kind of just based on vibe. And that's not always accurate when you're in the actual moment, right? Like when you're watching this team day in and day out, you're focused on what's happening in front of you. If they lose, they're the worst team ever. If they win, they're the best team ever. If a pitcher throws well, he's great. If they don't, well, then get this guy to Lehigh Valley tomorrow. That's the reality of watching sports, right? I'm not blaming anybody for that, but you need to sometimes understand your biases and then look at the actual reality of where the team is and where the team was. Because when we had this conversation about comparing them to last year's start to the season, which was awesome. They were unbelievable to start the year, right? We all remember that. I'm not making this up. They were great for the first couple of months, and then everything obviously fell apart. But you would take last year's start to the season again this year, right? Well, you basically have to this point. Through 19 games in the 2024 season, the Philadelphia Phillies had the exact same record. They were 11-8. That is right where this year's team stands. So for everyone who's like, this team is taking a step back, this team isn't good enough, this team's got this problem and that problem, maybe they do reveal themselves over the season. And when they do, we're not going to shy away from that here on Locked On Phillies. But what I will do is talk about the reality of the situation now. And they have started the season the exact same win-loss record as last year. Now, the point can be made that 11-8 is not always made equal, right? Any record is not made equal. You can win games by 10 or win games by 1 by the skin of your teeth, and they both count the same. And that doesn't tell the full story of what the team is. If you're more worried about the bullpen this year than last year, join the party. I talked about that during the offseason, that the bullpen is a question mark. If you're more worried about center field this year than last year, I get it, considering where Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas have started the season. We'll see if they end up taking care of business as things go on. I'm not exactly expecting that at this point, but the jury's not out on that. We're 19 games in. That's still relatively early, okay? Well, no, it is still early. If you're worried about any spots in the starting rotation, I don't know why you are. You're going to get Ranger Suarez back in the next week or so. You're going to get Andrew Painter at some point in July or July-ish. Like, this team's going to be just fine starting pitching-wise, and they have some great arms. And then the rest of the lineup, well, outside of the guys that are struggling, that are kind of role players or ancillary stars, like an Alec Bohm, Castellanos been swinging it well. Schwarber's been swinging it well. Harper's been swinging it well. Turner's had his moments. He needs to heat up a little bit, but some of the stuff that you look at is like, oh, these are concerns. I don't know. We kind of expected them. And when I see expected concerns, that's just like proving the point, right? We did this exercise earlier today on the radio, and I'll do it again here. My biggest problems with this team coming in were, you have questions about the outfield. Are they league average? Are they league above average? Are they league below average? You had questions about the bullpen. And you also had questions about, well, in that bottom part of the lineup, how do some of those guys hit, right? Those were the normal questions with the Phillies. And guess what? Those are the questions we still have right now. I predicted them to be a 93-win baseball team. I predicted them to be a playoff team. I predicted them to be in World Series contention with those problems ahead of the season. Now that no other problems have popped up to this point, I still predict them to be a great baseball team, and they still are going to be, in my opinion. You can disagree with that, but I have not seen anything that's shocked me with the Philadelphia Phillies. I have just seen the problems that we thought are the problems we thought, and that means you made a proper evaluation. And if you do that for a team that you say is going to win 60 games, that's an issue. If you do that with a team that you say is going to win 90 games, well, okay, you've already come to terms, or you should have already come to terms with them being successful in spite of these problems. But this comparison with the 2024 team goes deeper than that. So far this season, the Phillies, they've played the Nationals, the Rockies, the Dodgers, the best team in baseball, right? The Dodgers, the Atlanta Braves. I know where the Braves are record-wise, still a quality team. The St. Louis Cardinals, we're having an okay start to the year. The San Francisco Giants, who I think are a good baseball team. I really do. We'll see if they hold that over the course of the season, but right now there's no denying that's a solid club. We'll see what type of noise they can make in the National League West. But there are a couple teams in there, mainly the Dodgers, Braves, and Giants, that could easily be considered playoff teams, even with Atlanta's slow start, right? I still think the talent of that roster has something to say before the season's all said and done. You know who they started the season with in 24 with the exact same record, with that great start that everybody remembers? Started with 3 against Atlanta. Then they played Cincinnati, Washington, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Colorado. There was one team in there that was a postseason team. It was the Atlanta Braves, and they got immediately knocked from the postseason, right? Like, that is just, you can strongly argue that the Phillies have had a tougher first 19 games this year and have the same record as last year's insanely hot start. Then they went on a run from 11-8. They went on a 4-game winning streak, and maybe this team will do that, maybe they won't. But to this point, all that we can evaluate in the season is what they have done. And I could argue that they've had a more impressive start to the season this year than they did last year, when Everybody was on the bandwagon and saying, this team has come in, business-like attitude. They're ticked off. They lost to the Diamondbacks in the NLCS. They're going to have a great year. Well, they've had a better start, you could argue, this year. Now, you got to look at the contributing factors like we said. I'm not going to say they've had a better start, but I'm going to say they're about on par with where they were at this point last year. And we just get caught up in the day-to-day of where we're at. And we also get caught up in the storyline of like big stretches of the season. We don't remember the individual moments and individual games and individual records the same way until you look back at the actual numbers. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable about what the Phillies have done so far this year. It doesn't guarantee anything about future success. It just says to this point, they're on par with what they did last year. Last year, they were a 95-win baseball team. Okay? Take a deep breath, everybody. Now, only take that deep breath for so long because we got to get ready for the Miami Marlins, who have had a nice start to the year. How have they done it? What do you have to watch for this weekend? And can the Phillies get back in the winning of series mode? Well, you didn't do it against the Giants, but a split is just fine. They're going to win this series against the Marlins. And coming up next, I'm going to tell you why on Locked On Phillies. All right, let's talk about our friends over at Supply House. They're just the absolute best, and you need them if you need to get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. So Supply House is the best because whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website, it's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, listen to this complete inventory. Over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. I didn't even know there were that many brands. They got them all at Supply House. You're going to find exactly what you need with that type of inventory. It's delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. So you're always going to talk to a real person. You don't have to worry about dealing with a machine or a robot. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, you can go a step further. Their free, yes, Free, free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. What are you waiting for? Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5, that's S as in supply, H as in house, 5 as in the number 5 for, you guessed it, 5% off your first order. Go ahead and check them out. That's supplyhouse.com. So the Phillies start a series with the Fish. It is their third NL East series of the year. I forgot about the Nationals one to start the season. And we'll see if the Phillies can cool off the Marlins a little bit, even though the Marlins have been slightly cooled off. The Marlins come into this series after getting swept out of their home stadium by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks beat them 10-4, 6-2, 6-4. The Marlins haven't been producing runs. They've been giving up runs. The Diamondbacks are a quality team, right? But the Marlins, their record at 8-10, it would suggest that they're better than they are. They haven't really played any tough series yet besides that Arizona one. They started out their season with a 4-game set with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Then they faced the Mets. And I think the Mets are a quality team. Makes me want to throw up in my mouth. They played the Braves when the Braves were scuffling, and one of those games got rained out. They played the Mets again, and they lost 2 of 3 to the Mets. They played the Nationals and took 2 of 3 against them. We know the Nationals are not a great ball club. And then they got swept by the Diamondbacks. So the Marlins have lost their last 3 games, and you have a chance to take advantage of a scuffling team and build against it. Now, the pitching matchups are going to be very interesting to watch because that's always where you look for the Phil's first advantage. Wheeler on the mound tonight. Alcantara going for the Marlins. He is their best arm easily. So that'll be a great pitcher's duel. We'll see if the Phils can get to him. And then in game 2, Taijuan Walker's making another start. Ranger Suarez not quite ready. This could be Taijuan Walker's final start because they have an off day Thursday. They could work it that they get to the off day, reset the rotation on the off day, skip one of his starts. Ranger Suarez makes the next one in that spot. We could see that. But he faces Cal Quantrill. And then in the final game of the series, the Phillies will send Jesus Luzardo to the mound against his former team on Sunday, 1:35. Easter Sunday, good chance for Jesus to show off. Maybe sacrilegious there, but forgive me. And then you've got Connor Gillespie on the mound, not the basketball player, for the Miami Marlins. It's something to note for the Miami Marlins in this series. They're throwing 3 righties against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phils, we know, better against right-handed pitchers. Struggle against lefties sometimes because some of their big bats are lefties and also some of their struggling bats are lefties. So what I'd expect to see Brandon Marsh again in this series, even though he's got kind of a bit of a knee sprain he's working through right now. Rob Thompson said Marsh not going to the injured list, so he'll probably just be day-to-day, and we'll see. Maybe they'll play him Sunday. I expect to see Rojas still tonight because I haven't heard anything that Marsh is good to go yet. Speaking of injuries, by the way, if you're worried about Nick Castellanos, who left yesterday's game with a hip flexor injury, he is fine. Rob Thompson said he should be good to go for tonight's game. So it looks like it was something minor. I just felt something, and he's like, nah, I'm good. Castellanos played all 162 last year. I imagine he's going to want to try and do that again this year. You could ill afford to lose Nick Castellanos right now with Brandon Marsh and Rojas going the way they are. Having both those guys in the outfield would be a mess. So it'd be great if Castellanos can play tonight. If he needs the night off, just to be careful, okay, but nothing major with Castellanos. We will see, but I'd expect guys like Schwarber and Harper to have big series, seeing just righties. Bryson Stott at the top of the lineup. I'd imagine he's going to bat leadoff in all 3 games unless they do some weird Sunday lineup to get him rest. He's going to have a series that he can get after some right-handed pitching that he sees well. And you ready for my big, bold prediction for this series? Max Kepler in left, he is going to hit his first home run as a Philadelphia Philly in this series against the Miami Marlins. He's going to go yard against the Marlins in this series. I don't think he has a home run yet, right? I don't remember him having one. I'll just double check on that real quick. But even if he does have one, he's going to get another one in this series against the Miami Marlins. Oh, he does have 1 home run. I must have forgot. My apologies to Max Kepler. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, I think he might have gotten one in Washington. Whatever, he's going to get his 2nd home run as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. I think he shows off some pop this weekend. Weather's going to be awesome. It's going to be like 70s here in Philadelphia. No worries about rain or anything like that. A beautiful Easter weekend and a chance for the Phillies to build momentum against the Marlins. If there's any names to watch out for the Marlins, because you might say, well, Connor, how have they made it to 8-10? Even though you said they played some lower level competition, they have to have some guys that are showing off a little bit. A guy that you want to look at, Matt Mervis. You might not know this name. A lot of people don't. He may not be good, but listen to this, right? So Lopez for them has 2 home runs. Stowers has 1. Conine has 1. Wagaman has 1. They've got a couple of guys with 1 home run. Lopez is the only guy with 2. Mervis has 6 home runs for the Miami Marlins. He's leading the team in RBIs. He's leading the team in homers. That's the guy that you got to look at as a potential big swing guy. Outside of him, you're not really worried about anyone else going yard on you. Xavier Edwards is leading in batting average. He's batting .333 in 72 at-bats. That's not a small sample size. So he's a guy that you got to look at as, okay, we're going to have to work against him and be careful. Switch hitter, too, so he's always going to have the handedness advantage. A couple of guys to look to work around. But the Marlins are playing out over their skis, or at least they were before they faced the Diamondbacks. Now they got to come on the road to Philly. I feel pretty good about the Phillies' chances to win 2 out of 3 in the series. In fact, I will be very, very disappointed if they don't win 2 out of 3. But to get to 2 out of 3, you got to win tonight, because I'm not going into another Taijuan Walker start after what he did against the Giants and saying, oh, well, I feel confident that you're going to be able to win a game he pitches. Maybe you get another Colorado Rockies type performance where he looks really good. Maybe you get one where he looks really bad. So win game 1, win game 3 with Luzardo throwing against his former team. Little grudge match there. Hey, they traded you away, buddy. Go strike out 10. Like, that's the motivation for Jesus Luzardo on Sunday when he throws. That middle game's going to be a little bit tricky. So those are the 2 games that I expect them to win, or tonight and Sunday. Saturday, a toss-up, a sweep. How great would we feel about that? But we will take 2 out of 3, move up in the NL East standings a little bit more because of those division wins, even though you're only trailing the Mets by, a game right now? Whatever, nothing to worry about this early in the season. We're not even really looking at standings. We'll take a peek in on Thursday on their off day, but that's what the Phils need to do to win the series. I think they're going to. I think they're set up very well too, and that should put a lot of people at ease. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. By the way, hopefully if you're watching on YouTube and you've been annoyed by the lighting behind me, I got the blackout curtains up, so it'll be easier for you to see and watch our episodes on YouTube. So if you left to just listen to the podcast because of that, come back to the YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Join us here on Locked On Phillies. Again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we appreciate you always checking us out on Locked On Phillies. I'll talk to you Monday to recap the series against the Marlins on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.